Next question comes from Aaron Martinez. Aaron asks, do you think Dan and company will go after any of the Georgia transfers in the portal? Also, who are our top quarterback targets in the 2024 class? I'm going to take a quick drink of water, and then I'll get into answering this question. So, Georgia transfers. This is an interesting one for me because I'll be on Twitter. I basically live on Twitter, throughout the day. That's obviously how we see a bunch of news stories that come out, guys that get offered, what have you. It feels like, especially after Dan Lanning got hired from Georgia to Oregon, anytime there would be a Georgia guy that went into the transfer portal, Oregon fans would just be like, oh, is he coming to Oregon? Like, oh, hey, this guy has Lanning ties. Like, is it going to happen? But there are some guys that have hit the portal recently that maybe Oregon does have a good chance at. I think the two names that you're looking at here are cornerback Jaheim Singletary from Georgia. We can start with him. He's a 2022 guy, so he was a true freshman. He just won a national championship with Georgia, but he's hitting the portal. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida, Riverside High School, had 29 reported offers, just an absolute stud. But Dan Lanning wasn't the primary recruiter there. However, Singletary did have some interest in Oregon prior to signing with the Bulldogs coming out of high school, took a visit to Oregon in 2019. So I think that gives you something to work with, even though I don't think that Singletary is the most likely guy of these two Georgia transfers that we're looking at. I told you earlier in the podcast, I think cornerback is a position that could maybe use a little more work. Maybe you look to get some more guys in that cornerback room. And then the other guy that you have to look at is linebacker MJ Sherman. He's the guy who just hit the transfer portal today, signed with Georgia, MJ Sherman was a linebacker recruit, 4-star composite that signed with Georgia in the 2020 class out of Washington, D.C., St. John's College, where the Ducks just got Jonathan Gill, like I mentioned in the last question, but see some familiarity there. And then the good thing for Oregon here, Dan Lanning was the primary recruiter for MJ Sherman when he committed to Georgia, plays outside linebacker. I think that it's another position that the Ducks could certainly use some help at with the edge rusher. You got Jordan Birch, Mace Funa, Trevin Mae, and then you have a bunch of guys from the prep level that came in 23. You're talking Mateo Uyunglele, Blake Purchase as two guys that could really contribute early. And then you maybe have Johnny Bowens, Ashton Porter. So a lot of really encouraging talent from the 2023 class. Maybe not as much depth at edge as you would hope. But I think that if you can get MJ Sherman out on a visit, he's certainly worth a call. So I don't think that either of these guys are super likely right now, just going off of my gut feel right now. But I would say that MJ Sherman is the one that I'm a little bit more confident in if we had to choose one or the other, right?